Hello? Is it working? It's working. Nice. Hello? How's everyone doing? I'm a little bit lopsided. Hold on. Hey yo, Sapphire. Welcome in. Welcome in. Hi, Squiddy. Welcome in. I'm here. There she is. There I am. There I am. Welcome, welcome. I think I saw Coffee and Sarah as well. Welcome in. Welcome in. How's everyone doing? How was your week? How was your week? I guess it's Thursday, man. I keep thinking it's Friday. I keep thinking it's Friday because I usually don't stream on Thursdays. Mushroom? Same. Same. Me too. Mushroom. Delicious. I love mushrooms. Mushrooms and Warframe? Hey, mushroom and Warframe. There's mushroom and Warframe? Nice. Nice. I had business to attend to yesterday, so I couldn't see you. Be the last girl in Repo again. No worries, Squiddy. No worries. Yeah, I know Wednesday streams are not my usual streams. They're not typical, so... On time tonight. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Squiddy. I even started early tonight, too, because I still have work tomorrow. It's a lot earlier than usual, that's for sure. But thank you. I think I was only last girl, like, once, though, on Repo yesterday. It was just one time. I was last survivor syndrome. But it was good. It was good. I saved everyone in that one time. It's fun though. Repo's so fun. Like, especially if you haven't played it in a while. And you come back to it. It's so silly. I love it. Still counts toward the mythos, yeah. I don't know why. I guess I'm just really good at running away. I just have insane running away instincts. I've said too many mushroom jokes. Too many mushrooms jokes and new Warframe update. Well, I'm happy to hear there's mushrooms in Warframe. How do you eat it? Can you eat it? Can you put it in rice? Cook it in a rice cooker? Put in some soup? Mushroom soup, maybe? I do like mushrooms. And when I go to Japan, there's going to be a lot of mushrooms because fall is mushroom season. And there's going to be a lot of yummy, yummy mushrooms. No, I can't eat it. Ah, dang it. Is it like medicinal mushrooms? They're cute and they go yip. Oh, no. Okay, they're like alive. They're like alive mushrooms. That sounds fun. Yippee! It's like the bug from Lethal Company. The yippee bug. The yippee bug. Yeah, that's cute. I like the idea. No, mushroom not bug. Mushroom companions. But yeah. I started packing for my trip. I'm leaving this weekend. Which is why I'm not streaming this weekend. But, I started packing. I like to pack early. Early. It's a little sad though. I'm gonna miss my bed. I love my bed. I love sleeping on my bed. It's the best thing in the world. I only had enough time to pop in and pick a fruit from the garden last night. But it glitched and I don't know what I got. Can't dictate which fruit I got. Oh, yeah, yesterday. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Anybody that redeemed the daily fruit yesterday, it didn't go through because I didn't log into the software. I opened the software, but I didn't log on. So if you redeemed it, it didn't count. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There's no glitch. I'm the glitch. I'm the danger. Which fruit you got? You got a grape. Let's just put it there. A grape. The green ones. The green. They're called Moscato in Japan. I don't know what they're called here, but the green grapes. Hi, Junie. Welcome in. I'm back. Yes, today's second to last day of stream before I go on hiatus. But welcome in, Junie. How are you? I went inside of the wrong thing as Titania and I couldn't get out, so I said, looks like there isn't much room here. Ha, ha, ha. Ha ha, much room. I see what you did there. It was you. Yes, it was my fault, Squiddy. I apologize. You're right. It was my fault. I will take that. Nice. I'm glad you're enjoying your green grapes. Your Moscato grapes. Ooh, speaking of Moscato, this is Moscato season in Japan too. I'm thinking of all the stuff that's in season right now. Mushrooms, green grapes, sweet potatoes, a lot of types of fish. You know, in Japan they call the fall season the shokuyoku no aki, which means the fall of appetite. The fall of appetite, meaning there's so much delicious food in the fall. Hi Karma, welcome in. Mushrooms. Yes, we're talking about mushrooms. It started with mushrooms in Warframe, and now we're talking about just mushrooms, period. Little tired? Same, Junie. I'm also a little tired. I woke up like... I woke up so early today. I woke up at like 5 in the morning. And then I just like did stuff. And then I fell back asleep until like 11 a.m. I was half asleep attending my work meetings this morning. I'm so glad they didn't call my name. Oh my gosh. If they called my name, I would have been doomed. I may be a psycho for this, but I often take my pillow with me on vacation and stuff it in my suitcase. That's so cute though. I've seen some people traveling like with pillows before. Yeah. I always wonder why. I always wonder why they bring their like pillow. Like it's not even like a small, you know, like the neck pillows for like, you know, you wear on your airplane. Like I saw people bringing like their whole big king size pillows, and I'm like, why are they bringing their pillow? Well, maybe you can enlighten me on that. Squiddy, is it just for comfort? Just to have something that you own and you've used before? Mushies, yes. Hi, Sarah. Hi. Yeah, we're talking about mushrooms. Anybody got a favorite type of mushroom? I don't see too many types of mushroom here in America. When you go to Japan, there's so many different types. It's funny about that. After I actually saw in my subscriptions a video about how Japan is going ham harvesting grapes as of late. Yeah, because it's a grape season. It's a Moscato green grape season right now. Yeah. I kind of miss going in the summer though. I used to go in the summer, and during the summer, the stuff in season was like tomatoes and cucumbers and white peach, which is my favorite fruit, by the way. I can't have that anymore because I only go in the fall now. But white peach, it's in season in the summer, like June. Anyway, I miss eating those things. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day? Really? For work? Is it for work? I knew you work remote. Dang. Hopefully you end work early too if you wake up that early. Leave me and my whale shark pillow alone. Whale shark pillow, that's so cute. I think it's... I get it if it's like in the shape of like... Wait, are you saying it's in the shape of a whale shark, or are you saying it has like whale shark patterns on it? If it's in the shape of like an animal or something, I think that's cute. That's like for comfort. Yeah. I've seen people... I don't know if anyone's remember pillow pets. I don't know. Maybe I'm old or something, but... I saw a lot of people like carrying pillow pets on the airplane at the time. When it was very like... trendy to have a pillow pet. Shiitake or lion's mane pretty good. Ooh, I've never had lion's mane. No, how's that? Shiitake is definitely good. It's a classic. I put it in everything. I put it in my miso soup. I put it in stir fries. I put it in my rice. I put it in everything. Yum. Did you try morels? No, I don't think I've tried that. Is that a mushroom? Lion mane. I don't know. I have to look at it. Wait, hold on. Let me look it up. Wait, let me look up lion's mane first. Mushroom. Wait, I've never seen mushroom like this before. That looks so funny. It looks poisonous. Not gonna lie. It looks a little poisonous. But it looks fluffy. It actually does look like a lion's mane. Okay. What's a morel mushroom? Morel mushroom. Oh, I've seen these, but can you eat these? I see, but I've never... Can you eat them? They don't look edible. did it taste like? It looks like a sponge. If I can't have my bed, my head can have a familiar pillow so I can hopefully get to sleep peacefully in a foreign place. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, yeah. Especially like with hotels and stuff. Sometimes the pillow's not good, you know? Or it just doesn't like suit your taste. So, I get that. That's understandable. Now I want to bring my pillow. I'm thinking about my 14-hour flight on Sunday and I'm like, oh gosh. Oh gosh. 14 hours of no sleep. I can't sleep sitting upright. Can anybody here sleep upright? I know Sapphire can. I think Sapphire said they can't sleep upright. But I cannot sleep upright, man. I really someday my goal is to like make enough money from work that I can afford business class. Business class every flight so I can lie flat and go to sleep. That way I will probably sleep through like over half the flight if I can lie flat. I've done it a few times though in like economy. Like sometimes I get like super lucky and the whole row is open. So I just lie down and it feels so good. I sleep like a baby. Shape of a whale shark. Okay, that's cute though. That's cute. Is it the size of a whale shark? Is it as big as a real whale shark? 5 to 8 for meetings, then finish the rest of work after a morning stream. Oh, that's fine. Okay, so you do meetings and then you get to stream a little and then work. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. It's nice you can like sandwich something else in between so you're not just working like 8 hours straight. They're stupid tasty, really? It looks like it would suck up some juice really good. This mushroom looks like it would suck up all the good broth in the juice. I make mushroom chicken and rice too that has button, porcini, and shiitake mushrooms. Oh, I love making it for winter. That sounds yummy. Wait, what's a button mushroom? Let me look it up. Sometimes I've seen it, but I just don't know the name. Oh, button mushrooms. Oh yeah, these are like this. Aren't these like the standard ones that you can get at the supermarket? I like these. I like eating these raw though in my salad. It's yummy. I really like nandake? Enoki? Was it enoki mushroom? ちょっと待ってね。Enoki mushroom. Oh yeah, enoki mushroom. I like those a lot. Enoki is yummy. It's crunchy. It's kind of crunchy in a way. Crunch, crunch. Crunch, crunch. Oh, also in Japan, they have these really slimy mushrooms called nameko, I think. Nameko mushroom. Yeah, and they're like slimy, and you put it in like miso soup, and this is also yummy. The only problem with these is they're so slippery that I can't grab it with my chopsticks. You kind of gotta slurp it in with the rest of the soup. It's yummy. Yum yum. I did yesterday. Yeah, the sapphire is just built different. Sapphire built different, can sleep upright. If I'm really tired, I can, but I haven't slept successfully on a flight yet. Yeah, something about a flight. I don't know. Like, I know some people like the sound of the engine. You know, it goes like it's just like the engine sound, like in the background. Some people are like, oh, it's like white noise. You know, you can sleep better with it on. But I'm like, no, that thing is loud. Imagine listening to that for 14 hours. You're just gonna want to like jump off the plane at that point. It's so loud for me. It's so loud. But yeah, sleeping on a plane is hard. Just being surrounded by other people and being upright and it's loud. Yeah. I'm always late to the meetings, but they can't fire me because finding another HR that works as hard as me will be impossible. It's nice knowing you have that much security in your job. You just know you're the best at it, so you can't get fired. Because if they fire you, they're doomed. Doomed. I wish it were as big. No, it's about 60 centimeters long, though. That's a good size. That's a pretty okay size. Yeah. That's cute. Whale shark plush. It reminds me of like the shark plush from IKEA. When I hear shark plush, that's the first thing I think of. Is the one from IKEA. Those are nice. Yeah. I'm one part brave flyer, one part nervous flyer, so it's hard for me to relax on flights. I'm just highly aware that my fate is not in my hands for the entire duration of flight. True. Yeah. I was like reading up on that a few days ago about people who have like flight anxiety. But it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but you know, most people's flight anxiety is like what Squiddy's saying with like, you don't have, the fate of your life is not in your hands. And some people are like scared that the plane will crash or something. And I was like reading up on it because I always took planes since I was a baby, like a little infant. So I never had that kind of anxiety, like, oh my gosh, the plane is gonna crash kind of anxiety, you know? I never had that. But I did have other anxiety, and that is, people anxiety. The only anxiety I had on the plane is, oh no, I'm trapped on a plane with 500 other people that I don't know. Oh no, this is very scary. My priorities are very straight, as you can tell. It was so bad that I just hated planes. It was like torture for me. But then I kind of got over it a little bit. Like, I still don't enjoy it, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I like them with the little soy sauce grilled in a pan. Ooh, the enokis, yeah, that is so yummy. Sometimes I like to put them, cook it with, nandake? I don't know if you know gochujang. Gochujang is like Korean, like chili paste, I think. I cook it with that sometimes. That's also yummy. Cut them in half, yeah. I built wrong. No, Sapphire, you're just built right. Built right for long distance travel. Garlic, yeah. Ooh, garlic and oil and soy sauce. That's like the holy combination. Anything with some oil and soy sauce and garlic is going to be good. I would be awake if the engine sounded like that. Yeah, did you like my reenactment of the engine sound? I can't do it. Headphones work? Yeah, that's why I have noise cancelling headphones now. Or like, I have AirPods. They kind of hurt your ears after a few hours though, so I have to take it out. Use the garlic oil for the enoki, then you put the soy sauce after the shrooms. That sounds good. I can almost smell it. I can almost smell that thing. Blahaj, I think that's the name. Yeah, that one. The IKEA shark. I think I butchered the pronunciation, but yeah, that one. I see that all the time. I only flew on a plane once back to my origin country. Never flew since that was 2013. Oh, that is a long time ago. Yeah. But to be honest, long distance flights are not fun, so it's probably fine. I prefer not to go on planes if I can. I wish I could teleport to Japan. Rule of Karma N420. If I hear enoki, they my rest. Wait, what? wait, what? I don't panic on flights. I just the entire time. Me too. I too do that the entire time. Yes. Yeah. I was doing that so hard one time when I was a kid, just like, wait, this is the opportune moment. Wait, hopefully it works. Hold on. Oh yeah, I was just like this for like 10 hours, and I didn't move at all. So this couple sitting like next to me got like super worried about me, and they started talking to me, and they're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Do you know you can watch TV, right? You know you can play games on the TV. Do you want something to eat? Something to drink?" I was so petrified from anxiety that I made the people next to me worried. I will forever remember that. I will forever remember. That was silly. That was a silly moment. Oh shoot, my eyes! Don't look! Ah! People, I know people. So scary. My dad tried putting gochujang on a sub sandwich once without knowing what it was. I'm not sure if that was blasphemous or not. Well, it depends on what kind of sandwich. What was in the sandwich? What kind of sandwich are you talking about? What did your dad think it was? Did he think it was like ketchup or something? Or barbecue sauce? Uh-oh. It's so spicy. It could be good though, depending on the type of sandwich. Bahaj, everyone has a different way of saying. Yeah, I'm not Swedish. I can't read it right. I have a Bahaj, it's beat up because I'm constantly throwing. Sir, you have like the gamer rage or something? Or do you mean like you throw it like in your sleep or something? I used to have some stuffed animals when on my bed too when I was growing up. But it was a Disney one. It was like a sleeping Minnie Mouse and a sleeping Winnie the Pooh in like a little pajama. And it was really soft. I had those. And it was wearing like this little, you know the little sleeping hat, right? It's like triangular and it has a little ball at the end of it. Yeah, I used to put that ball in my mouth. I used to put it in my mouth with like, I guess while I was sleeping or maybe before, I don't remember, but I would just put it in my mouth. And Mother Fruit would be like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you making it like, it's so soggy? What the It was weird. It was a weird experience. I think I still have it somewhere. Probably back at the Fruit Kingdom. Yeah. Turns to solid mold. Yeah, I probably would have. If that flight was any longer. He just likes hot sauces. It was chicken Caesar sandwich, so with chicken, lettuce, tomato, Caesar. Okay, up to chicken, lettuce, tomato, it sounded okay to eat it with gochujang. But Caesar dressing and gochujang? I don't know. That doesn't sound very yummy. It sounds a little weird. It's so silly. I throw it at my friend. I sleep with a giant Gengar. Oh, that's so cute. A giant Gengar. That is cute. I used to be scared of Gengar as a kid, but now I see the charm. I see the charm in it. Gengar's kind of cute. But the two previous evolutions are not. Why are they called again? Ghastly and Hanzer or something? Gosh, they're ugly. They're ugly, and then they get somewhat cute when they're Gengar. I'm sorry for the Ghastly and Hanzer fans out there. Haunters, yes, thank you. I knew it was Han something. That would be an unfortunate death for you. Yeah, I would. It would be. He also had a phase where he was putting hoisin sauce and everything. He made me extremely nervous in those days. Hoisin sauce. I don't even use hoisin sauce that much. I only use it when I eat like those Vietnamese rice noodles, the pho or pho, some people call it. I sometimes put hoisin sauce in there, but like still, everything. Like, did your dad dip his chicken nuggets in hoisin sauce too? Gengar was my only friend since I was young. I grew up in a toxic environment. I looked to Gengar for comfort. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. It's good you found something to find comfort in. Yes, it's very good. But yeah, I still have a picture of the Nameko mushroom pulled up on my screen. I'm just staring at it. I'm just staring at it as I talk. He put hoisin sauce on his eggs and bacon? And his pizza? Ugh. Ugh. Eggs and bacon. Oh gosh. And the pizza. It's not like an Asian style pizza, is it? Are we talking like cheese pizza or like pepperoni pizza or what kind of pizza? Hoisin sauce. That's the kind of sauce you'll find in the Infinite Gardens. Poison sauce. Yep. Lost in the sauce. I would always call it poison sauce to scare my mom. It's you know what? Poison, same thing. Same thing. Yeah, hoisin sauce. I don't really use hoisin sauce. I also don't use oyster sauce either that much. The number one sauce I use the most is probably Does mayonnaise count as a sauce? I love Kewpie mayo, so I put that on everything. I guess that's my favorite sauce. Oh, I like buffalo sauce. That is also good for my chicken nuggies. I'm sorry to say this, but it was an anchovy pizza with feta cheese. Father Squid. Father Squid, no. Not the anchovy pizza and feta cheese, no. Dang. Maybe Father Squid was going through a phase. A hoisin sauce phase. Dang, hoisin... That's interesting, because hoisin sauce is kind of like... It's kind of sweet, right? It's kind of a sweet sauce. Interesting. Interesting. Maybe I'll try it one time, just to see. Maybe I shouldn't judge Father Squid too much. Maybe I shouldn't judge until I try. Have you tried it, Squiddy? Have you tried it before? Oyster sauce not umami enough. Yeah, it depends on the dish. Sometimes Mother Fruit used it for like Chinese dishes. Put oyster sauce in it, but can't really tell the difference. Just tastes like sauce. Salty. I put fish sauce in all my recipes. Oh yeah, fish sauce is... It's like okay. I haven't had it too much. I guess maybe I put it in my pho one time. I know my old roommate said that they like to eat... They like to slice tomatoes and then they put fish sauce on it and eat it, which... I didn't try it. I guess it's good for them. I don't know. Maybe it's good though. Oh, now I think about it. Mother Fruit uses fish sauce in her yakisoba sometimes, like her special yakisoba. Hey Rizzy, welcome in, welcome in. How are you? Welcome, welcome. 来てくれてありがとう. I forgot to speak in Japanese. I've been just machine gun talking in English. 日本語で話すの忘れてた。もう日本行くんだから日本語練習しないとやばいって。外人だと思われる。やばいやばい。I can make hoisin sauce from scratch? Oh, is it easy to make? Is it like... What is it made of? Soy sauce and sugar and other stuff? I don't really like hoisin sauce. Valid. Valid, Squiddy. You know, at least you tried it. At least you tried it and you know you don't like it. I took nappies? Nice. I slept a lot today. I slept till 11. I woke up at 5 a.m. and then I slept again till 11 a.m. I felt good. That was some good sleep. But I had a lot of scary dreams. Wait, actually... It was like scary, but not scary because guess what? Lean in, come in, right? Bring it in, everyone. I think I vaguely remember, but I think Berumondo Banderas was in my dream, I think. So it was like a nightmare. It was like a scary dream. I was being chased, but he was like there, and I think he was my husband. I think he was my husband, and he was trying to save me. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'll have that nightmare every day if it means I can be married to Berumon Banderas. Yes. That was a pretty good dream. That was a pretty good dream, guys. Father Squid reminds me when Shaggy and Scooby would put chocolate sauce on hamburgers and pickles on ice cream. Oh my gosh, I forgot that that's how they eat in that show. I forgot they eat crazy stuff. They literally eat like they have like pregnancy cravings all the time. Pickle and ice cream. Oh my gosh. Aw, silly. I'm currently playing as a spider. Nice. Nice. Soy, dark soy sauce, sugar, MSG, Worcestershire. I can't say that word. Okay. So yeah, dark soy, sugar, MSG, and Worcestershire sauce. Nice. Okay, that's not too bad. Poke you back. Poke. I thought it was going to be Krauser again. Nah. See. I think I said this before, but it rotates. Right now, I'm kind of like coming out of that Krauser phase again. I'm just kind of leaving it for a moment. Now it's all about Berumondo Banderas. ベルさん大好き。ほんと好き。もう夢に出てきてくれてありがとうって。ありがとう。夢にもう、怖い夢だったけど、ベルさんが出てきたから大丈夫。大丈夫だ。Big fruit. This is awesome. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the big fruit. Yes, yes. I'm afraid of spiders, so this is half hella, half yay spider Yuri. Spider Yuri. Oh my gosh. Spider Yuri. Speaking of spider monster girls, the first spider monster girl I think of is Elise from League of Legends. Worcestershire sauce? Oh, thank you, thank you. Is that how you say it? Worcestershire sauce. Got it. Got it. Mine is the Worcestershire sauce if you're making vegan. True, true, true. That is true. It's spider bug Yuri. Spider girls. Spider monster girls. Oh no. Hi, Coffee. Seasonal husband. So, the seasonal husband. Right now, it's... Right now, there really isn't one. I mean, maybe Beru-san, yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Hi, Coffee. Welcome in, welcome in. Worcester is pronounced more like Worcester, actually. Worcester. Worcestershire, so it's like shorter. Worcestershire. Worcestershire. I thought it was Worcestershire sauce. Does anybody really know? Does anyone actually know? Probably not. I think everybody says it slightly differently. That's just the fate of that word. Thank you, Squiddy. I guess I got it. Worcestershire. Worcestershire. Hello, Rhea. Hello. Welcome in. We're just chatting, but I might actually start playing now. Since I started early so I can play more, that was the whole point. Yeah. I always pronounced it Worcestershire. I think I did that too when I first read it. Worcestershire. I agree. Oh shoot, I'm lagging. I need to exit out of Chrome. There we go. Maybe settings too. Okay, nice. Gotta go to Task Manager and close everything. Not gonna lie, Rhea, same. Yeah, same. Me too. That's how I read it. I don't even know how to read it in Japanese. Like, what would it be in katakana? I actually don't know how to say it. I don't know how I would describe it to a Japanese person. The English would be proud of you for pronouncing it properly, Fru. Yay! I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear it. My computer is being slow and my stream just froze up. Yeah. Thank you for the alert, Rhea. It's alright. All is well. But yeah, let me see. Anything else I can close? Make sure I don't make my PC explode. No PC explosion allowed. Alright, let me go to gaming. Still lagging though, holy crap. Man, that is so weird. How am I still lagging? Okay. It's still stuck on repo actually. Game chat. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, there we go. There we go. Wait, hold on. There's some weird filters on it. There you go. That's better. Also, thanks for uploading a bunch of VODs, Fruit. They are fun to watch back. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Yeah. I've been trying to catch up with all the VODs before I go. Just so you guys have something to look back on, I guess. If you ever need a supplemental vitamin fruit while I'm gone. So I'll definitely make sure to upload everything. It should almost be up to date. I'm getting there. I'm slowly getting there. But yeah, I posted my No I'm Not a Human ones. I also posted a couple collab ones I've done. And I posted like 2 of the Silent Hill F ones. So Yeah, yeah. It is almost up to date. Don't you worry, don't you worry. So. Where do I put this the controller? I got a really long cord from my controller. I found a really long cord in the closet. So now I don't have to assume a strange position while I play this game. 音大丈夫かなこれで。これ大丈夫かな? Takes fruit pills with shaky hands. No, not the withdrawal symptoms. No. そう。もう3週間配信お休みするから、YouTube の方にね、過去配信の動画を今全部投稿してて、あともうちょっとで終わる。みんな、うちがいない間に見るものを、ね。なんか見たくなった時用にね。Okay. I guess continue. Also, this is something I knew since before I started, but look how like the red thing is like spreading across the city. Look how it's spreading. ね、なんていうか、ストーリーが進むとこの赤いのが増えてくの面白いよね。赤いなんかわかんない植物みたいな。Time to plot against the Dinko? Yeah. Do I get a boss fight with Dinko? Can I also like throw a pipe into her face like I did with Sakuko? ねえ、サクコのボスファイトあったけどさ、リンコのはないのかな？リンコめちゃくちゃやりたい。もうぶん殴りたい。Okay, continue. Gonna be ad break in like 20 minutes, but... it does autosave. So it autosaves because last time I came here but the screen broke, so I had to stop. So the save should be like a little bit before this, but I guess it autosaves. オートセーブするんだったらさ、セーブする必要なくね？ちゃんとオートセーブされてた。You can pay Sakuko and Arare to go after Sadiko. I think Sakuko is like Gonzo Manifiesto. I think she's gone. The fox guy snapped his fingers and she was like gone. ね、Sakukoもいないよね。狐のお兄さんにやっつけられたから。I just found out my comfort game is Dead Space. I booted up yesterday for the 5th time. Dead Space is your comfort game?
先に行って支度をしておく。お別れをしてくるといい。
お別れって何？あれなんでお別れするの？ Why do I have to say goodbye? I guess I can't judge because Backrooms games are my comfort games, so I guess I can't really complain about that. Necromorph hugs are the best. You gotta get a nice tight, extra tight hug from necromorphs. Find a way to open this sacred door. Are we getting married? 結婚するの？結婚？狐のお兄さんと結婚？ I don't object to that. I'll marry the fox guy any day. Like, even if it turns out that the fox guy was evil and he was just super evil the whole time, I'd still be okay with it, I think. Depends on the situation, but I think I'll still be okay with it. あ、この長いのもあるのね、まだ OK。前の武器がそのままなの。マジ、こっちから行かなきゃいけないの？違う。なんかうさぎがついてるドアに。There's a little bunny on the door. どうやって開けんの？ん？お、鍵。Gosh, I have to fight a bunch of monsters again. また、化け物と戦うの？ここが一番嫌だ。現実っていうかその、現実世界の化け物の方がいいな。この世界の化け物はほんと怖い。Necromorph, zombie, mold, they all share the same concept after all. True. ちょっとやだもう。They turned off the lights! I can't see! やばいこれ怖い。Sapphire! Thank you for the spin, thank you. やだ、暗い。本当に何も見えない。I can't see anything at all, guys. The hair is clipping through my body. Yeah, necromorphs are my distant cousins. My mold cousins. 誰かの家かなこれ家 It's like a house. うわぁ、もうやだな。もう、なんかもう怖い。Is this her house? Is Sakuko's house? Sakuko no ie. これ何の花これ椿 Sakuko's parent-teacher journal. Just to know, as Sakuko's mother, I want to thank you for teaching my daughter. I wanted to apologize for what happened the other day on the field trip. It seems Sakuko caused a lot of trouble. My daughter has been that way ever since she was young. She was a problem child. As a child, she always hated when we turned off the lights to go to bed, and she avoided dark movie theaters and tunnels like the plague. I mistakenly thought that she had overcome her fear of the dark now that she's grown up. Oh, maybe she has like a sixth sense, like a spiritual sense. She can see things. It's very likely. Dead Space is just a good game. So mad they made the third game as is. What was the third game? Dead Space? Is it literally called Dead Space 3? Even after clearing it 4 times, I still get scared. Oh my god. That's scary, huh? Even after... It's like the enemy spawn like randomized, or is it like the same spawn, but it's just that scary? I believe the reason her fear came back during the field trip is because she is unaccustomed to sleeping in a different environment. Wait, this is going back to Squiddy's statement about bringing your own pillow on a trip. Sakuko should bring her own pillow. I gave her a stern talking to for behaving so shamefully at her age. She has since reflected on her behavior and is sorry for how she acted. Please accept both her and my apologies. She doesn't have to be sorry if she's scared of the dark. I mean, sometimes you're just scared of things, you know? Look! Bun Bun! They're Bun Bun! Where's Toma when we need him? There's two Bun Buns. They have a lot of Bun Buns. Oh, that's why the door had Bun Buns on it. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Guess she likes Bun Buns. これ何これちっちゃい祠みたいな。すっごいちっちゃい祠がある。There's like a mini praying station here. I don't think I have anything to enshrine. Yeah. Omamori. Omamori? I don't think the omamori really helps. Praying helps though. Praying, I'm prioritizing praying. I think just how this game works is like... You only have enough points to either put it into praying or omamori. You can't do both. 何これ? Enemies defeat areas limited. Evil warding lanterns will be unable to reanimate. Oh, shoot. Oh, do I have to ward her off now? She jumps really far. Ooh, she's so strong. That's why there's a Hokora right there. Okay, maybe I defeat this thing right here. Ooh. Ooh, cool. Oh my gosh. This is actually kind of hard. Dude, these guys are strong. Damn, it took a while to kill it. Now I have like no health. I don't think praying will help. Yeah, ちょっと待ってね. That is scary. Okay, that was... Do I have to fight those things so much now? Aw, man. 羊羹もらった。でもまあ、羊羹もらったからいっか。I guess I got a 羊羹, so it's fine. Thank you for photosynthesis, Sapphire! もう... I guess I can put it here. Sakuko gets it, yeah. I don't remember the 2008 original, but the remastered one seems to be scripted spawns mostly. But because you have to aim at the limbs and you don't have much ammo early on, anytime you miss your shot, you get more stressed as they come at you. True. I hate it when games do that, where it's like limited resources and you have to use it wisely. Kind of like this game. It would be nice if praying at a shrine restored your health. Yeah, I wish it did that too, but I don't think it does. I don't think it does. Okay. There's a bun room and then a bird room? What if I do this again? これもう一回やったらどうなるの？なるほどね。こっち開く？あ、じゃあこっちが開くのか？なるほどね。こっちは何もなさそう。There's nothing here. Okay. ここをもう一回やって。It's almost like Resident Evil. Yeah. Yeah, Resident Evil. But it feels like watching people play Resident Evil 4 Remake at least. It didn't feel like they limited the resources like too much. Maybe a little, but not as bad as some games. 引き出し開く？ここ。開かない？ No loot? I'm very thorough with the loot sometimes. Okay. またこれ開けたらお化けてんの。But she's back! Sakuko's back! 今、Sakuko 戻ってきた。Divine water. She's not dead. Maybe you guys are right. Sakuko is not dead. Maybe Sakuko is back to beat up Rinko for me. ね、ここまた開けたらお化け出んねよね。もうやだ。めんどくさい。大丈夫？大丈夫？お化けいない？いない？お化け。Okay. I'm probably not wrong, but I think Silent Hill and Resident Evil are the two most famous Japanese horror games. Probably, yeah, like globally famous? Yeah, probably. Resident Evil, definitely. Definitely. Thank you for the spinnies, homeless meat dog. Hello, hello. Okay. Does Luigi's Mansion count as a horror game? I think Luigi's Mansion would count. I don't know Luigi's Mansion's name in Japanese though. Luigi Mansion っていうのかな？あれはホラーゲー？うわ、お化けいるやな。お化け。ここが閉まった。やだな。お化けと戦いたくないな。Loosely. Yeah, it has ghosts in it. すっごいやだ。うわ、やだ。Oh, there's another guy over there. またこれ学校？ Back to the school area again? Oh gosh, it's like a big one. やだ、なんかすっごいやだ。Why are these the monsters that Sakuko like saw? In the darkness? That's why she didn't like it? How's the game so far? It's good, it's good. I'm enjoying it a lot. Sometimes the combat can be really scary and annoying though. But I'm enjoying it. What about you? Have you played this before, Meatdog? Did I get pollinated? Thank you for the pollination. I think I need to re-add the sound effects to it. Nakanai? I mean, I could fight them, but I think fighting them would be really hard. I have to go that way though. I'm sure there's a way to do this section without fighting much at all if you're fast with it. Oh, that starts in 4 minutes. Ooh, ほんとこれさ、もう this one is so annoying. ケンケンパしてケンケンパ。ちょっと待って、ちょっと待って。Okay, yeah. Okay, go. Open. Okay, nice. うわ、お化けこっちから出てきた。うわ。うわ、でかいやつやだやだ。怖い。Oh, girl, move. Come on. No time to waste. Ugh. Oh gosh. But I can save again here. Nice. Oh, I hate that. The second monster that came out, that's like my least favorite monster. Ugh. What? どうしよう、こっちでいいの？これなんか、is there like new loot or anything here? Now that the room changed? 新しいものとかないよね。前と同じか。すっごいやだ、あれって。あれって静かにしてれば見えないのかな、こっちのこと。これなんかパズルみたいだよね。It's like a puzzle. This might be really annoying. This section. これはちょっと難しいかもしれない。うわ、来た。Okay, come in here. I want to try to juke this one. Hey, come back. Ooh, move, run. Oh no, she's not happy. No, this one will not close. I thought maybe hopefully this one would close, but...うわー、もう一個のお化け来た。どうしよう。こっち入ってくんなよ。絶対入ってくんなよ。Oh, so scary. I didn't realize. I guess it can't come into the rabbit pen. Nope, I just watched someone play through the entire game. Oh, nice. That's what I used to do too before I started playing it myself. I love watching people play. Hi, Hashi. Welcome in. How's it going, Goober? It's going. It's going. I'm doing the puzzle section in the Foxman's world now. In the Sakuko part. I feel like this part's gonna be really annoying. But how are you? Since have cleared the highest difficulty, I have an infinite ammo finger gun. The one-shot enemy so I can run and gun? Wow, that's so cool. A finger gun. Is it actually a finger gun? Does he just like point his fingers at you and go pew pew? Pew pew. I forgot my gamepad. Oops. Pew pew pew. That's silly. Pages from an observation log. I guess for the rabbits. Because in Japan, when you take care of the rabbits, you have to make an observation log of the rabbits and their health. Hey, Mr. Rabbit, guess what? I made my first ever friend today. Her name is Shimizu Hinako. Aww. She considered me a friend. For Mr. Rabbit, she's my first ever real-life human friend. So I'm a little scared. Same girl, same. I relate. What if she throws me away and forgets me? I'm so scared of that happening. Oh. That's why she calls me uragirimono. Like, that I betrayed her. When I told my new bestest friend Hinako this, she said she'd never ever abandon me. Not ever, she promised me. But you know what, Mr. Rabbit? Uh-oh, ちょっと重い. She's a little much. Handwriting here suddenly turns erratic. Oh my gosh, I'm possessed. What if Hinako breaks her promise? What if she betrays me? What if she's lying? No, I don't want to think about that. Hinako says she wouldn't ever leave me. She promised. I have to believe her because that's what friends do, right? They believe each other. Hinako, if you betray me, you'll pay. I'll make you pay and regret ever hurting me. What did I ever do? Got it. Uh-oh, she's coming back. Is this Sakuko boss fight 2.0 coming up? Rabbit science. I know, rabbit science. I always thought rabbit observation log is an anime thing. No, it's a real thing. They actually do it. In elementary school, though, mostly. I don't think you really do it. I don't think people even have rabbits in middle school or high school. Maybe. It's mostly an elementary school thing, though. I think she called you a liar a lot, probably. A little bit Toxic? What is up with Hinako being surrounded by toxic people in her life? Dinko and Sakuko and her dad especially, mostly. Dang. Doesn't not seem like fun times. I be doing an assignment. No worries, no worries. Please focus on your assignment, Hashi. You got this. Gambare, gambare. Gambare, gambare, Hashi. Gambare, gambare, Hashi. No way, I thought Japan is an anime thing. It's real. Anime is real. Yes, anime is real, guys. Everything you see in anime is real. Confirmed by me. Hi, Brady. Welcome in. Okay, I'm gonna go on a break and then I'll be back. Oh, wait. It's running... Okay, hold on. It's not running 3-minute ads anymore. It's running 30-second ads because... It's what I set it as yesterday for the collab. No! I want to go on break. I also want to run 3 minutes because that disables pre-rolls. どうしようかな? It won't let me anymore. Hold on. Yeah, Hashi's getting studious. It just happens to people that way sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes you just end up in a bad environment with bad people. But hopefully you can get yourself out of it too. I'm gonna not stream summary. Where's the thing? I can't. Yeah, dang it. And immediately after ad runs, it won't let you click on run 3-minute ads, so it won't let you do it. By the way, the finger gun is like a red foam with its index finger pointing upward. Ah, one of those. Like the one that people bring to like... Is it soccer games? Baseball games? Like sports stuff. So not just the player's hand. That would be so funny if it's just the player's hand. Restart the stream with 3 minutes? I could, but... I really want to run the 3-minute ad, but it just won't let me. Let me run the 3-minute ad. I know how it works. It gets disabled after you run any ad. And you can't click on it for a good long while. Does anyone know how that works? Does anyone know how the ad disable button cooldown works? Okay, run 3-minute ad. Button disabled Twitch. You can't run a 3-minute ad because the pre-roll and disable timer is still active. Oh, okay, so I have to wait till the pre-roll timer goes to 0 and then I can run an ad, I think. Right now it's at 8 minutes. Okay, I can play like 8 more minutes until the pre-roll thing goes to 0. Sports finger. And the character will say bang when you shoot. That's so cute. Bang bang. Bang bang. Okay. So, okay. Yeah, bye. What? I guess I'm immune in here. But dude, there's like how many monsters? 2, 3 monsters now? I do have a bandage though. Is that... Oh, I thought that was blood on there. I'm like, who killed the bun bun? Don't kill the bun bun. Okay, this is not too bad. Oh my gosh, there's like 3 different monsters out there. Kawaii yo, kawaii yo. Spoopy doopy. Okay, this one opens another gate now. What is up with Fox Guy leaving me in the dust like this? It's all the way down there. Ooh, there's 2 of them! Oh my gosh, there's no way. Ah! No, I can't get past it, man. I can't juke it. I don't think this guy can attack you, though. All it does is it cries and then it, like, stuns you. That's, like, not too bad, actually. Maybe they do attack, but I just haven't gotten them to attack yet. kana? That was like a red door, right? Oh shoot, I locked the red door. Okay, maybe down this hall then? Oh shoot, there's a guy down there. Spooky dookie. Spooky dookie da yo. Ah! Hey, let go. It's still there. Wait, does it just connect to the other side? Oops. Uh-oh, I'm gonna run out of stamina. Okay, nice. Wait, I just clicked on the red door though. Uh-oh, we closed that door. Ooh. They're both in here now. Hey, let me go back in there. Yeah, I thought that door would have surely done something. Oh, though that opens the red door. I just let that guy out. No way. He was in the other room. ちょっと待ってね. Fox guy must have Asian parent mentality where trauma makes you a better doctor. Trauma makes you into a better person. Don't quote me on that. That's not true. That's not always true. Sometimes some level of hardship can help you grow, but I would not recommend you to go through traumatic experiences just to grow as a person. Oh, thank you for the water, Nebis. I think I have to go into that room over there, but I don't know how to get in there without dying. Kenkenpa. I just walk in too, don't worry about it. これどうすんのこれ難しくない I hate that monster, by the way. This guy, I hate him. Oh my gosh. なんもないじゃん。ここなんもないじゃん。There's nothing here. Oh, maybe there is something here. あ、なんかここにある。なんか。あ、バンダ。あやめて Oh my gosh. やばい。難しい。うわ。They're all in here. Hey, どうすんの? Is there anything in this room at all? Oh my god, guys! Didn't the door open here? Oh my gosh. Help me! 怖い! めっちゃ怖い! お化け屋敷みたい! やば! どういうこと? I don't get it. Hashi, how did you do this part? やばい. Pick up. Okay, pick up. Oh man, that's so scary. Dude, every time I end up in the Fox world, guys, it gets so intense. I hate this. How are you supposed... I guess you have to fight off a lot of them if you want to, like, actually focus on the puzzle, because I can't focus on the puzzle. All I heard was trauma makes you a better person. Please. Please, Davis, please. Don't believe in any of that. Don't quote me on that. Okay, I hate gym class. Just looking at my gym clothes makes me depressed. They're holding a long-distance race at school soon. I know it's just an excuse for them to watch me come in late and laugh at me. Wow. I knew how lonely I would feel if everyone just left me in the dust, so I asked Rinko if she would hang back so we could run across the finish line together. And you know what? She said yes. I asked Hinako too, but she said no. What the heck? So is that why she became friends with Rinko but started hating Hinako more and more? She said it's because she's in a sports club and she'll get yelled at by the teacher if she doesn't try her best. Well, I suppose that makes sense. If it's true... Oh my gosh, so skeptical. The handwriting suddenly turns erratic. But I know the truth. I know it's really because you don't want to be held back by a slowpoke like me. Ah, Sakuko is like stuck in her head. Oh no. I hope Hinako trips and falls and breaks all the bones in her body so she can never run again. What is up with Hinako's friends, guys? What the heck? Rinko, who wishes Hinako's dead. Sakuko, who wishes all her bones would break. Dang. If I quoted you on that, I think they would come back on me rather than you, so you're safe. Okay, okay. I will not be the fall guy. No worries. It's all good. ここ難しいよ、これ。It's right! これ下手したらマジで死ぬよ。やばい。やばい。Oh my gosh, there's so many of them! There's so many! I'm so doomed, you guys. どうしよう。危ない。こっち出れない。Wait, I trapped myself and everybody in here. Wait. やばい。これは相当やばい。What? I can't do anything. Oh, I locked onto all the enemies. That's why I can't do anything. I'm doomed. How do you do this? Oh, it's waiting for me while I do this. Okay. That's... これやばくない？ちょっと待って。あんまりにも多すぎるって。ちょっと。Oh my god, I'm in some kind of room. Oh my god, guys, my luck is fucking insane. ちょっと待って。あれれ。I'm sorry for dropping the F-bomb, but that was... My luck is absolutely insane. 1 HP luck in a dream. I know. Oh my gosh. Guys. 怖い。もうギリギリセーフじゃん。もう運良すぎない？これさすがに運良すぎるでしょ。これやば。Okay, I think I can run the ad break now actually, so I'm gonna go take a break. That was an insane puzzle. It was. I'm surprised I even solved it. I somehow did it. Gosh, that was insane. I'm gonna pause this for a second. Those dodges are like some Inazuma 11. ほんと、Inazuma 11みたいだったよね、さっき。やばいよ。サッカーやる？もう、サッカーやっちゃう？ I should become... I know Hinako is like a runner, but she should just become a soccer player. Those dodges, insane. Either soccer or basketball. That was crazy. ね、強すぎるよ。ひなこやばい。あの避け方はやばいって。Okay, I'm gonna run the ad break actually, so... Yeah, I'm gonna run ad break and then I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Okay. I'm back. I took a pee break. It was so scary. I took a pee break. Quick, she's gonna riot. No, don't riot. Don't riot aloud in the back rooms. I would say break down the back room walls, but the walls are pretty much indestructible. True. And Nebius, if you break those walls down, not only will you be billed for damages, but you will also be sent to this room called room run for your life. And you die. So no cheating allowed in the back rooms. No cheating allowed. I don't think it was run for your life. I think it was called room something something. I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, don't break the walls here. It's also very expensive. Very expensive walls. Anyway. Behind the wall, just people entrapped by mold. Yeah, the backrooms feeds on people entrapped in the mold. We suck out the nutrients from ya. Attack on Titan style. The people run the backrooms. You find Obey there? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna pin that. I'm gonna pin that. Thank you for that. If I obey their meowing, oh my gosh. Wait, I need to screenshot all that and send it to Obey. Wait, hold on. Okay. Clip this bar first. I'll probably put it in the wall of shame actually. Congrats, Coffee Omedeto. We made it onto the wall of shame. Once again. Okay, これと and then the Obey comment. I just imagine Obey in the walls and just meow, meow, meow. It's so silly. Aren't the walls endless? They are. They're endless walls that go on forever and ever. Just wondering who would send me the bill in the back rooms? The debt collector. From the debt collector room. She back in my room till I mold. Nice. Noise. Yeah, Obe's just there. It's okay. He's fine. He's fine. He's just fine. He's just chilling back there in the walls. And contributing to the great society of the back rooms. Got caught in the crossfire for no reason. Sorry, don't mind that. I was drinking some lemonade. Followed by water. That death collector. I don't like the sound of that. I didn't say death collector. I said debt collector. Did I say it wrong? I always say it wrong. Debt or death. Maybe same thing. Maybe they're not too different. Debt or death. Okay, it goes down. Okay, just don't want to explode my PC. The fruit step to death collector. It sounds so scary. Oh, maybe I should rebrand. Death step. Is it debt or death? The answer is yes. Thank you for the water, Brandy. What do you mean same thing? Same thing, debt, death, you know. Debt could be death and death could be debt. Yeah, I know. おしっこブレイク、いや、そう、おしっこブレイクね。おしっこタイム。うん。怖すぎてね、もうちょっとおしっこは。Water nade. Yeah, I am. When I was a baby, Mother Fruit used to feed me diluted lemonade. She put like a little bit of lemonade in my bottle and like tons of water. Or apple juice sometimes. A little bit of apple juice, lots of water. Charge rifle stop. Charge rifle じゃないよ。おしっこだよ。Okay, okay. I'm looking at something. Is there something I can loot? Why is she acting like there's something to loot? I guess she's just looking at the cages. Is she in that cage over there? She's just sitting in there. She's trapped. これ何？キツネとウサギ。ウサギとキツネ。オッケー。おさくこいるじゃん、ほら。She's not dead. She's just trapped. ただ捕らえられてるだけ。囚われただけ。死んではいないってことね。Sheet of fine paper. Two must face each other as one to pray for mutual prosperity. Those who do shall lift their heads to level height as if they were reflections in a mirror as custom dictates. With the shading of light shall you condemn the past to the dark. Bruh, I don't know what that means. English, please. They must face each other as one to pray for prosperity. Okay. So they're praying and they must face each other. Those who do shall lift their heads to level height, as if they were reflections in the mirror as custom dictates. What does that mean? Just make them just face each other? 向かい合わせになればいいだけ？これは変わってないのね。ずっと同じお化けばっかり。なんかずっと読んでないのか。コンバットのとこ読んでなかった。で、これも読んで、OK。Alrighty, I guess puzzle time. I tend to mishear as much as Fruit butchers people's name, and that is hilarious. What do you mean? I only butcher one person's name, which was Wabusa. But that is Wabusa's name. That is their real legal name now. I made sure of that. Oh, what did that move? 何？今何動いた？ Ah, oh, I see. So these things... So, oh, mirror each other. Oh, okay. So I have to get the two sides here to be mirroring one another. Huh? これは、これでいいんじゃないの？これ。で Did it work? Oh, it's not the same. Maybe the... Wait, did it work? Wait. Can I even touch these anymore? Oh. Oh, nice. Restrained lampshade. A lampshade found near Sakuko's cell. The design resembles something tingling. Tingling or tingling. I guess I kind of did it. Talon lampshade. A lampshade found near Sakuko's cell. This design resembles sharp talons. Okay, so I got some items. That's good. なるほどね。Okay, なんか、提灯みたいなやつ。提灯じゃないか。これをどうすんの？ Where did I put this? Oh, here? Uh-oh. Oh, I had to make it dark? What the heck? I'm so mean. I'm like, you don't like the darkness? Well, let me turn off all the lights for you. どういうこと？なんで全部電気消したの？ I might have to fight her again. You know I tend to mishear the... Oshiko time sounds like golden shower. No, not the golden shower again. No! How's Silent Hill so far? It's good, but it's like scary and also kind of annoying to fight the monsters or run from them more. Waposi? Waposi, was that the name? I thought it was Wabusa. Oh, Waboose. Yeah, you messed it up. You messed it up this time. Do the weapons in this game have durability or are they infinite? I think the weapons in the Fox world, the world I'm in right now, doesn't have durability. But the weapons in the real life world does have durability and they do break. Uh-oh. She's trapped in the dark. Oh, she is cold. Man, she's cold. Sumita. Oh my gosh, she's actually in darkness now. Anyways. The White Rabbit Emblem Key. Obtained after bidding farewell to Sakako. It seems to be able to open a door somewhere, and it's much bigger than a normal key. As if it was made for some huge creature to use. Well, guys, that is how you stop being friends with a toxic person. Put them in a cage, lock them up, and then leave them in a completely dark room for eternity. Yep. That's right. Do you recommend this game? I recommend this game. Yeah, I recommend it, but mostly for like the pretty graphics and stuff. Not so much for the mechanics. Games I actually really enjoy playing was like... I don't know. To be honest, Signalis was pretty good. That's like one game that I think I really enjoyed. Wasaba. Yes, Wasaba. That was the other one. Wasaba. It's a 10 out of 10 so far, or 7 out of 10? Like a 7. 7 out of 10, yeah. Probably like a 7 out of 10. Here's Inhuman screaming in the background. So, anyway. Yeah. What am I supposed to do? She was a really bad, toxic friend. Dude, the monster's still here! Imagine! Oh, never mind. Maybe I can go back this way. Okay, thankfully the monsters haven't been unleashed yet. Oh, thank goodness. Isn't that what you do to me and Obe? We don't talk about that. Coffee, I thought you signed an NDA. We don't talk about that. Shh. It's the Backrooms' top secret. No one's supposed to know. Everybody thinks you guys live in a luxury apartment in the Backrooms. Huh. I'm just kidding. I would not put you in cages. What do you mean? And leave you in the dark? No. No. Is anyone here actually like experienced scary things in the dark? Like, is anyone here scared of the dark? I'm like semi-scared, but not really. I do use a nightlight every time I go to bed. But that's mostly so I don't trip and fall. Sometimes I dip Obi in the back rooms and he screams loud as well. What? Brady? What does that mean? That's going in the wall of shame too. Congrats. That too is going in the wall of shame. Congrats, Brady. Sometimes I dip Opie in the back room. What do you mean? What do you mean dip in the back rooms, huh? Silly. Silly, silly. And we're getting some good harvesting today. We're harvesting some good stuff for the wall of shame. I'm proud of you guys. Opie's gonna be so confused when he sees all this later. Okay. Gotta exit out of Discord again. Oh, it should be... Okay, end task. Nice. Nice. Yeah, wall of shame. Don't worry, I got it. I got them. Don't get me wrong, the game will look so good as well as horror and monster design, but felt like Silent Hill 2 had that ominous feeling. Yeah, maybe. Silent Hill 2 had like a better atmosphere, maybe? Yeah, this game, it's pretty. It's really pretty. But I can't really find any other reason to play it other than it's pretty. Oh, and the fox guy, yes. I love the dark. Nice. Are you the type that sleeps in like pitch darkness? What if I come back to welcome back, Squiddy? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's just typical shenanigans here in the back rooms. Yeah, you don't want to ask, sweetie. You don't want to ask. I don't kink shame. What are we talking? There's too much kink shaming going on. There we go. That's what I meant. Atmosphere. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, Silent Hill 2 had better atmosphere. It's like creepy, but it's also kind of like something like nostalgic about it, you know? Even though you've never been to Silent Hill. Or at least that's what we think. Maybe we have been to Silent Hill before and we just don't remember. You've been here before, we just made sure you forgot. Classic Backrooms. Backrooms liminal space quote right there. But okay. So I saved... Wait, let me save again just in case. I don't remember if I saved. Where does this key go to is the question though. Is it the other room maybe? Please don't make me go back there and fight those monsters again, please. It must be for here, right? No, it's not for here. Oh, never mind, it is for here. Yes. Oh, nice, it's close. Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, I was so scared that this key goes into something else in there. Oh, thank goodness they closed it. What about this door though? What is this? The Illuminati door? Why is there a triangle on it? かった。さっきまた戻んなきゃいけないんだと思った。もうびっくりした。Oops. Can't. Oh, hold on. Ah, this thing is being annoying. Vinian is getting in the way. Ah, Vinian is in the way. Oh, I accidentally opened Thunderstorm Mod Manager. Hold on. Ah! I can't see anything. Oh gosh. Okay. There we go. Cry of Fear? Look at me. I'm all about the atmosphere, yeah. Cry of Fear has the scariest atmosphere ever. That is so scary. Hold our breath for our cold flu COVID season. Oh no, recover that gosh. Yeah, I'm glad you recovered, Nevis. Yeah. I'm glad you feel better now. You mutate any further? Yeah. It keeps mutating every once in a while. Oh, maybe it did open. Wait. It opened, but the door... Only one of the doors open. Yep. Aw, man, I have to go through Illuminati door now. No! Kondo kochi! Yada. こっちも怖かったけど、こっちももっと怖い。こっちはリンコじゃないよね。If that door was... That door was, Sakuko. This door can't be Rinko, right? This has to be something different. Oh, I got locked in. No way. Yeah, 怖い。ここ結構怖いかも。I'm waiting so hard to get Fruit's final review on Cry of Fear when she places it on scariest horror game of all time. Will it be Outlast 2? Will it? Because in my head, Outlast 2 is like the scariest game ever. I have a very old game, but it was the scariest game I've played all year. It is very scary though. If anything, it would be in top 3. Top 3 scariest games. What is this, fire? Oh man, lots of fire. Oh my gosh, no, not again! Nah, this crap again. Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me! It's just the same thing as before, but in a different area. Oh man. Nani kore, jikoku? What is this?
Hinako. 今日は一段と綺麗だね。
Oh my gosh! Rinko's in hell! Serves her right. Serves her right. Look at her in that cage right there. Above the molten lava. She's in Jikoku. Ah. Feels good, huh? Nice and toasty, huh, Rinko? No, what is this? Is so weird. Rinko is literally just in hell, essentially. I mean, she's pretty freaking horrible person, I guess. In the shrine. I'm pretty sure I missed a lot of loot in the other area, but it was so scary. I don't care. Hi, Cass. Welcome in. Welcome, welcome. Oh god, I hate the puzzles in this part. Oh, did you get through this part already? Dude, the other one with the rabbit room, the Sakuko room was like, oh, that was so scary. I almost died. I was like a 1 HP and then I finally made it to that last room where Sakuko's in and somehow I lived. But this time, I don't know. I might not live this time. Gonna go mobile to do some decorating for Halloween. I'm trying to fall off the ladder for screams really loud, okay? I can't promise anything. I'll probably definitely scream. But have fun decorating, Squiddy. We're going to dunk her. I know. Dunk her. Dunk her in a little bit of sauce, you know, a little bit of what is that? Buffalo sauce? Extra spicy. Yeah. Extra spicy buffalo sauce. What are these things anyway? Did I put something here? Oh shoot, there's 3 slots for something, so I have to put something in there. Do I actually get to dip her in there? Dip her in some buffalo sauce? Ooh. You know what? I might like this level. That's where she keeps us in the backrooms in cages with lava. Nah, lava doesn't exist in the backrooms. That is one thing we don't have back here. Kimi and I are almost finished with this part. Okay, nice, nice, nice. Oh gosh, I'm so scared. The other part gave me trauma. It traumatized me, so I'm scared. Okay, it's just the same concept again with... Oh, what is this? Maybe I can escape monsters this way? Oh, nani kore? Secret room? Hmm? Is there a monster here though? Oh gosh, I hear the monster. Hora! Hora! Baka! Baka! Ah! Dude, what the actual heck? Oinari-sama's emblem! What the heck? Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Ah! Ah! Wait, I need to bring something here later. Okay, I need to bring Oinari-sama's emblem here. Danger! Danger! Oh my gosh, okay, that was kind of a mistake, but not really. Nigero! Nigetayo! Yeah, I guess this might be, maybe there's like a omamori or like loot back there that you can get if you find the emblem. Yada na. Yada na. Yaritaku nai yo. I don't have much items, but... Oh. You know you're done for when food just looks at lava and says, oh, there's the spicy buffalo sauce. It is spicy buffalo sauce. 開けるか。行くぞ。また同じのやんなきゃいけないやだ。Okay, they closed this door, but probably opened... Wait, what? Why did they close that door? え? 違うの？ここじゃないの? Maybe that's to like block monsters from coming in later? なんだろう。これじゃダメじゃん。後ろにもなんかあったのかな? Maybe there's something in the back. Eh? Wait, I'm confused. I need to open the green gate. But I can't find it. あれ? おかしいな. Maybe there was a door back there that I missed? But I feel like I hear 2 doors opening. Ah, okay, okay, so there is a room back here. That's where it came from. Yada na mo. Yada na. うわ、いるじゃん。ケンケンパいるよ。うわ、how did I dodge that? Oh my gosh. It's cool that you can see Rinko from every angle. なんかない？なんかない？ Okay, this is just a dead end. Okay. あ、やべ。こっち来んの？こっち来んの？ Oh my gosh. There's two levers in that same room opposite of each other? Oh, really? Okay, okay, I didn't see it. But I'll explore this side this time. And try to go back if I can. Can I even kill that thing is my question. I guess maybe sneaking around isn't the worst thing. Ooh, めんどくせえ。何のためこの部屋？本当何のため？Oh shoot, so I do have to open both of them. Okay, you're right. You are exactly right. Ooh. Kinkempa, kinkempa. I'll go back and pull the other one too. And...
覚えてる？私たちが初めて会った日。
初めて会った日は知らないっす。覚えてないっす。I don't remember. Thank you, Cass. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so that opens a lot more doors. Nice. Was there... Okay, whatever. I'll just go this way. Ooh, it's there. I'm gonna try to sneak. I don't know if sneaking would help. Help prevent them from, like, doing the AoE thing. Let's see. Let's see. Because they said if you don't kill them in the lantern rooms, they just resurrect. So, it's, like, temporary. Not really worth it. あれ？閉まっちゃった。あれ？ Uh-oh, I closed it. Never mind. Maybe that wasn't the play. Maybe the other door then? こっち？I guess... I don't know how these levers work. I guess this, yeah, opens this side. Okay, okay, nice. This is where it connects to the other side, right? 違うのかな? Maybe I wasn't supposed to pull the other lever. Okay, 失礼. Okay, so it did open this way. ちょっと待って. That is not allowed! That is not allowed! こっち開いた? こっち開いた? Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Wow, I don't know what that really did. I don't know what that did. I can't see. The field of view is very small. 危ね。裏はない。裏、こっちは no more rooms on that side. Okay. Okay, don't run anymore. Restore stamina. Okay, and then go. あ、こっち? Wait, that just led me back to where I was. Frick. Man. Annoyance. Hey, どういうこと? Did I just lock myself in here? Oh gosh, I can tell this is gonna be like a really, really annoying puzzle. このドア開く? Oh, it opened. Okay, nice. Oh, classroom. Okay, get this. I don't know what this is. Oh gosh. 何これ? Sorry guys, I'm so focused on what's going on that I can't even react properly. Imagine responding with dare when someone say if you remember the day you first met. Dare. I think you said dare. Dare. Oh my god, the creepy doll is here. この気持ち悪い人体模型あるわ。これ何? Class observation log. In continuation from last semester, I'm to be class president once again. Is this Rinko? I hope we can make this another wonderful semester. The handwriting turns wild and erratic. I love being class president because I get to look after all these lost causes. Worst person to become class president. What the heck? Even when I was young, I always enjoyed comparing myself to other inferior kids and basking in my own. Oh my gosh, these two girls got problems. When I pretend to care about others, I can please a lot of people. The losers I help, the people around me, and even my parents. And frankly, that makes me happy as well. That means when you remember the Sakuko's diary about Rinko like agreeing to like go slower so she can run with Sakuko, then she probably saw Sakuko as inferior. This is why she did that. Such a narcissist. めちゃくちゃナルシストじゃん。Rinko めちゃくちゃナルシスト。Right now, I'm in charge of two girls who are the definition of morons. They're both so carefree and empty-headed. Neither of them knows the first thing about fitting in. The only reason they have any friends at all in class is because I'm taking care of them. Ugh. They fawn over me and tell me all the time how grateful they are. It feels amazing. I really truly think that I was born to be class president. Nishida Rinko. もう最低じゃん。もうほんとさ、ほんと性格ひどいよ、Rinko。サクコもそこそこひどかったけど、リンコもっとひどいよ。ほんと。Hi, Skelemans! Welcome in, welcome in. How are you? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, Rinko's a horrible person. Confirmed. That's why she's hanging over lava in a cage right now. Who's that? I was about to say George Washington, but it just looked like George Washington. ほんと人でなし、そうだね。もう本当にもう最悪で最低な子だよね、ほんと。ここでも本当にまあいるよね、こういう人時々ね。I mean, sometimes people like that exist, which is a little scary, but you know, that's life. どうしたんこれ？どうしたんこれ？ What happened here? What's in there? 何これ？何のため？何のため？入ってきた。Oh, I found it. Forward-facing fox crest. Emily finds strange where it has some jutting out at the bottom that seems like it can be inserted somewhere. Okay, this is one of the puzzle pieces. I need two more. Nah, obligatory. I can fix her. Gosh, she doesn't even want to fix her though. She's just like, wow, they're so inferior. It makes me feel great. And that is why they do what they do. I found one of them. Good girl, you need like two more of that stuff. こっち。あれ？危ね。危ね。じゃあ I have to find more rooms like that, I guess? Wait. This put me back in the original room. Oh, okay. よかった。They thought they were being sneaky. They thought they were being sneaky, huh? Thank goodness I have the power of perspective on my side. This should not be allowed in here, gosh. Man, I think I have to fight this thing. I can't save if this guy's here. I don't have stamina. Oh, that was so close. Yeah. Wait. I need to lock on properly. Yeah. Oh my gosh, these guys are so erratic. It's so hard to like know when they're gonna attack. Ooh, abone. Ooh. Okay, I think that did it. Okay, nice. Dude, that was so close though. Holy crap. Okay, save here. Oh, I think I do heal a little bit when I pray. Okay, that's good. やっぱこれ祠使うとちょっとなんていうの？ HP が回復するんだ。知らなかった。Oh gosh, I have to find two more. I have two more. I think that thing does resurrect, so I have to go a little faster. どうしよっかな。多分 people don't need to be fixed, just dipped in hot sauce. Agreed. Just gotta dip them in some extra spicy buffalo sauce. Okay, this is gonna be a really hard puzzle. Okay, I still don't really know how to get to certain parts of this map. There must be a door maybe I missed somewhere? こっちかな? There must have been something I missed. Oh, I came down here earlier though. This is the other door. おかしいな。こっち? Oh, okay, okay. This is a different room. Okay. よかったよかった. Oh, this is the candy store. 駄菓子屋ね。Letter from Rinko to Hinako. Hinako, here you'll feel better after eating this. Forget what those jerks said today. And don't worry, they'll be getting an earful from me. You just have to be yourself, Hinako. You can't worry about what other people say. It's normal. That's their normal, not yours. I'll always be looking out for you. Liar! She's the 裏切り者. 裏切り者Rinko じゃん. She's such a liar. She doesn't even like me. She thinks I'm weird as heck. I mean, not me, but Hinako, you know. She is what they call a two-faced biatch. Yes, two-faced biatch. Higashi. Okay. で、ここお化けいっぱい出てくんの?
ここ千鶴屋を手放すんだ。進まなきゃ。先に。
That is true. The past is in the past, they say. You have to move on, Hinako. Those two are not your real friends. Maybe Shu is, though. Shu seems to be my only friend. These candies bring back memories. Nah. Has anyone here tried Japanese dagashi before? These are like traditional, like super cheap candy that you can get. Like kids can buy, you know, with like an allowance. Wow, めっちゃある. I don't know what is what though. なんかあんまり食べたことないからどれが何なのかわからんけど。アイスクリーム。Okay, there's some kuzu tea. I don't really need kuzu tea, that's fine. We're cursing. I am telling. I didn't curse, I said biatch, which is not the same. A biatch. Dagashi, so dagashi. It's these things. Like cheap candy for kids. Not gonna lie, Sakuko may be a reference to Satako from Higurashi in terms of how she was in Go. Oh, I never watched Higurashi, so I don't know, but maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if they took inspiration from other stuff for the characters and whatnot. Rinko's secret journal. Why do I have to live here of all places? Shu lives all the way on the other side of town, meaning my dream of us walking home together will never come true. Well, thank God for that, because... Shu, I don't think Shu likes you very much, Rinko. Just saying. I remember how I organized everyone from class to go to Chizuruya together after school. We chatted as we walked and went our separate ways home. The walk to the store was painfully short. Still, having such a few extra minutes that I could spend with Shu outside of school was all I could have asked for. I mean, I get it. Like, yeah, you like someone, you want to spend time with them, I get it. But girl, you gotta be a better person first. I sneezed. Bless me. Oh my gosh, the sneezies. Ugh. They went away. Oh my god, I need to sneeze. Uno momento. Something got in my nose. I don't know, but something really tiny and like pollen got in my nose just now. Oh. Ay. Okay, I gotta do this again. 2:15. またこれね. Okay, be careful here. It's flashing lights. Epilepsy warning. Epilepsy warning. Epilepsy warning. Okay, now it's good. Except there's a big monster chasing me. Wait, where's the stuff? I can't fight this guy. Well, I could fight this guy, actually. Wasn't there like an item to pick up here? No? Are Wait, where's the item? It should be in this room. これか? Nani kore kimochiwaru. Nani kore? What does that mean? I have to find something similar? Are I guess I gotta look for similar boxes. Or something. Oh my god, this guy is so fast, man. You know, this monster kind of reminds me of like the Wendigo from like that one game where you make choices with the butterfly effect. Wait, I'm so confused. I thought it would be in this room. Is it not in this room? Hey, ここじゃないんだ. So it's not here. Wait, I thought it would be in here, but I didn't see the item. I guess it was just a fake room. Aw, dang it. They baited me. This was a fake room that doesn't have the thing that I need. ってこと? Or maybe I just missed it. Maybe I have to go back. Hi, Wapusa. Welcome in. Hey, look out, but there's a huge monster chasing you. Thank you, Wapusa, for the warning. I thought it was just the wind. The sneezing. Yes, the sneezing. Since the creators of Higurashi had a hand in making this game. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Okay, that would make sense then. Yeah, it must be somewhat inspired by it. Bless you and voluntary test. Thank you, coffee. Thank you. Jeebus, those monsters are fast, I know. Until Dawn. Yeah, the Wendigos from that. Yeah, I've already got a remake too. They just kind of improved the graphics a little bit. A movie called Until Dawn? Really? No, not Life is Odd. It's Until Dawn, yeah. There's these monsters that look exactly like the monster that was just chasing me. I guess I didn't find it. I think it was in there. I just didn't see it or something. I panicked. Okay, they do attack a little bit. Okay. Maybe try going back down here and... Oh, abune! Wait, let me go back in here. It has to be in here, right? I don't know if Cass already got to this section, but... Is it in here? I just missed it last time. Okay, epilepsy warning. I just missed it, I think. Okay, I already opened that, but it wasn't in there. Oh my god. 違う、これじゃない. Okay, I guess it's just hiding somewhere. I just have to find it. あった. Okay, I found it. I can leave now. Nice. Okay. よかった。Okay, so I did miss it. It was just behind some toys. Go save now. I did. If you need a hint, let me know. I don't want to backseat too much. Yeah. No worries. Yeah. If I ask for a hint, then I'm probably stuck and I just need a hint. This was fun, but I gotta go and start to get off topic. So no worries. Have a good silent stream through. Yeah, avoid the spooky, speedy monsters. Yes. Thank you. I hope you have a good night, Nibis. We could just put it in here. Whoa! Oh my gosh, we do get to dip her in the spicy sauce. Nice. Is the devs saying, here's your way to get revenge on Dinkle. You can dip her in some spicy buffalo sauce. That's pretty good. Okay, I have no idea how to find the last room, to be quite honest. To be quite honest, I have no idea at all. Okay. I don't know if... I don't want to pull the lever too much. The hell? Maybe she killed me, man. What if it was Dinko that killed me? Maybe she killed me when she pushed me down the stairs. It's like one of those moments where you're like... It's like the Resident Evil 7 moment. I was dead this whole time? What? Kind of thing, you know? Sheena, maybe it's in here. It looks like it's in there. But that's a red lever? Ah, gosh. Sheena. Maybe I do need to pull one of the levers. I haven't found the Inari-sama's mark though. Okay, maybe... I hope that wasn't the thing I needed to put in the other room. どうしよう. So if I turn this, it opens the blue gates. It opens the red gates. So that would have opened the other red gate, except I can't go through it now because this one's blocked. Right? Yeah. Yeah, because this one's closed. I don't know. This is how the game started, right? どうしよう、ここ難しいかもな。Is it in here? Oh, maybe it's in here. I don't think I've been to this room yet. Nice! Okay, I got it. Man, either I'm just really good at puzzles or the devs made it so it makes it easy. It's one or the other, I can't tell. Oh my god, Rinko lived in a nice room. めちゃくちゃ部屋大きいじゃん、Rinko. しかも本がすごい。めっちゃ本読むのかな? So much books. Okay, nice. Nice. I'm assuming it feels like the next one's gonna be behind one of these dolls. 次のあれ、アイテム、この人形の後ろとかにありそう。人形を見つけてこう、ね。So many dolls, so that's a little creepy. Rinko collects dolls? ね。ちょっと怖いね。日本人形。Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have to check all the dolls in the room. But yeah, thank you, Squiddy. Rinko and Hinako are to Shu what Veronica and Betty are to Archie? Wait, what is Veronica and Betty? And who's Archie? Is that from the children's show? Wait, I don't remember. Feels like there was a character in a children's show called Archie. また見つけんのね。Okay, okay. Okay, epilepsy warning, guys. Light's gonna flash a little bit. A bit of a flashy flash. Okay, now what monster is it this time? No monster? Ooh! Ooh, 後ろやば。あれこれは? Oh, a crumpled letter. Sorry, I know this must seem like it's coming out of nowhere, but what exactly is Hinako to you? Are you two just friends, or are you more than friends? I want you to tell me the truth. This writing stops there. I know this is none of your business, but could you keep your distance from Shu? You know, people tend to get the wrong idea when boys and girls our age spend too much... Oh my gosh, Hinako. Spend too much time together and you don't want to cause any issues for Shu, do you? Oh my gosh, gaslighting maniac. You should really think about how you behave. You're nothing but a fly. All you do is get in the way. Get lost, or at the very least, shut your trap and stop bothering others. Specifically, Shu. and quit buzzing around Shu all the damn time. It looks like the writer was trying to change their handwriting. She's so toxic. This is like 2 examples of like horribly toxic people they should never listen to. Ew, look, she drew pictures of Shu. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's so many drawings of Shu. Wow. ちょっと怖い。Stalker? Stalker っぽいね。Like a stalker. Oh no. She's pretty good at drawing though. It's not bad. What's Your Fruit Archie is a long-standing comic series you could buy at a grocery store. I'm sure if you saw them you will recognize. Well, maybe, yeah, probably. Not to be that guy, but the apocalypse is a great time to get rid of those that's been bothering you. Dang, maybe that is what Rinko was thinking. She's like, oh, thank goodness, the apocalypse. Now is my time to rid her once and for all. Kimocharu. Ooh! Ooh! Oh, the more you turn the dolls, the more pictures of Shu. Ooh! Homim Sinuka, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the fruit. Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. Not the Fruit Kingdom. What is the Fruit Kingdom? I do not know. But thank you, thank you. It just flowed better, I think. Welcome to the Fruit Kingdom. That's why I keep saying it over and over again. There's one more doll. Okay, now I found it. Nice. Right, we're facing Foxcrest. Oh, whoa, that is a lot closer than I thought. I was just about to say, like, since we're always seeing everything from, like, this perspective, we miss all the, like, the face animations. Dude, look at the skin. That is so... The graphics are so good. Oh my gosh. Look at those luscious lips. I'm a bit confused on why there was no monsters in this room. Where are all the monsters? Mom, I want Meihera Yandere. We have Meihera Yandere at home. Yeah, this thing. This thing. You do not want anybody to be that obsessed with you, I promise. Welcome to the Fruit Gardens Infinite Kingdom. I was about to change it to Fruit Gardens, but I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it kind of makes sense. I hope my lips can be as soft as at the end of the world. True. It looks like she just got them got a lip mask or something. Okay, nice. And I love that it takes you back to the front rooms. The only thing is I am missing that item. Remember for that room I squeezed into? Should I look for it? Should I low-key look for it? It might be somewhere. I think it just gives you a omamori or like some kind of item. As much as I want to dunk Rinko in the spicy sauce right now, maybe if I go back, I can find the next item. If I die, I can just come back. That was the other room. I wonder if it's over there. Because I went straight into the room, so... Okay, that one is closed. That's normal. こっちは何もない. Oh, shoot. Okay, maybe there isn't. Okay, I don't think there is this way. Unless I mess with it a little more. Ooh! Well, I already went in this room. Ah! I don't know why I'm doing this for a stupid item. Oh my gosh, I can't walk now. I dodged too much. Dang it, now that I did this, now she's here. I guess I gotta fight her now. I didn't dodge properly. Maybe it was a mistake. You know what? I should just progress the game as much as possible. Even if I die here, it's not the worst. Yeah, it's fine. I saved, so it's all good. Oh well. I'll forget about the item. I'll just dunk her in the spicy sauce now. Alright, guys, ready to dunk her in the spicy sauce? Alright, here he goes. Buffalo sauce. I hope she likes buffalo sauce. Yay! Dinko's gone forever. The Tri-Skill Emblem Key. Obtained after bidding farewell to Dinko. It seems to be able to open a door somewhere, and it's much bigger than a normal key, as if it was made for some huge creature to use. Nice. I wonder what happens to them in real life, though. Now that I bid them farewell in this world, what happens to them in real life? Do they just disappear from my life? They leave? That is something to think about. Sakuko's kind of like semi-gone already in real life, but I don't know where she is. Where Dinko is now. Okay, nice. Consider that girl dunked. Agreed. Agreed. Let me do something real quick here. Okay. Let me see. What's in this room? Oh. They closed the door. Okay. I was gonna run a short ad break. Oh no! I have to bid farewell to Shu too. I have to stop being friends with Shu. That's kind of sad. There's more to this? That is crazy. Okay, let me pray. Let us pray. Doko. Oh. I'm gonna head out for now. Have a wonderful rest of your stream. Thank you, Cass. Thank you for dropping by. I hope you have a good night. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so now it's Shu. I didn't think I would have to stop being friends with Shu too. Dang. Maybe I'm like missing the point. Maybe it's more like we're just dragging it on or something. Like Shu clearly likes Hinako, but Hinako doesn't like him back. Hinako just wants to be friends like they used to when they were kids. But now that Shu has feelings for her, I guess that friendship, it can't really... It can never be the same again, I guess? So it's just better to part ways or something? I'm not sure what's going on, but... That's a little sad. Okay, I'm gonna run an ad. I'm gonna run an ad right now and then come back in like 3 minutes. Alright, I'll be right back. I'll be back. Hi, I'm back. Abo. Hi, Wolf. Welcome in. What's up? I'm good. I'm trying to finish this section before I log off for today. I have work tomorrow. Blah, 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 blah. I have work. I'm pretty doing well, Wolf. How are you? Thanks for stopping by. Let's see. Okay. Now you gotta do the shoe section. Oh gosh, I hope they don't make me do the same thing again.
こんなノートが山ほどあってな。押し入れにぎっしりさ。
何のノート? What is in there? Your childhood stuff?
俺の一番の宝物だ。お前以外の誰にも触れさせなかった。
Did I already find it? So, is that the thing I'm supposed to find? Find shoes' most prized possession? Yeah, that one. I found it. It's this. I guess I should check the others too, just for extra lore. Extra lore. Hold on. Seeing if there's any loot lying around. No loot? Maybe he's not attacking me with anything because he's my friend still. Shrimp! Thank you so much for the raid! Welcome in, welcome in! Thank you, raiders. My name is Fruit. I am a fruit entity of the Backrooms. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. How was stream, Shrimp? Thank you so much for the raid. Let me give you a shout out. My favorite shrimp. Thank you for the follow, Favely, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. Oh, more Hylix. Nice. How was that? How was Hylix today? Was it just as confusing as yesterday? Because I know we were talking about how it's like, we don't know what it's about. Hey, Lillian. Hello. Absolutely. Nice. That's when you know it's a good game. Hi, birdies. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. An acid trip with controls, basically. Nice. I'm glad it was just as funky as yesterday. I need to watch the VOD. I want to know how funky it actually is. I gotta see it. Thank you so much for the raid, Shrimp. I hope you're having a good week, Shrimp. It's almost Friday. You gotta power on. It's almost the weekend. But yeah, if you need a raid and run, I understand. I hope you go get some rest, Shrimp. Get some rest, eat some pickles, drink some water. Yeah. Tomorrow's gonna be my last stream before my 3-week break. So, yes. I will be streaming again tomorrow, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to finish this section. I don't think it's gonna be too bad. It was really intense earlier. A lot of intense running around, almost dying. Oh, there's a note here. A sheet of pine paper. I guess so I'm just in the process of like ending my friendship with like the 3 friends that I have in this game, I guess. I ended it with 2 of them, a really toxic biatches, and then now there's this guy, and he's a nice guy. But I guess I also have to end my friendship with this guy too. Good thing he's not attacking me though. It's probably because he doesn't hate me like the other 2 biatches do. You got through the school? Did we get rid of Rinko yet? Oh my gosh, we did! Wolf, we dunked her in extra spicy buffalo sauce. We dunked her in extra spicy, hot, steaming buffalo sauce, aka lava. we just finished that section like a couple minutes ago. Yeah, we did get to dunk her in lava, but that was only in this fox world. So maybe she's still alive in the real world. But you know, it's like a symbolic dip, if you will. a symbolic dippy dip. Yeah, we left Sakuko in the dark, in like a really dark room, even though she's scared of the dark. And then we dipped Rinko in the forbidden sauce. Went from 0 to 100 real quick. Yeah, it was good. It was very satisfying. I'm so glad the devs put it in there. Even better than elbowing her off a cliff, I'd say. But yeah, we did. But she'll probably still appear in the game, I'm pretty sure, after we get out of this place. Carry not any memory of what has come to pass beyond this point. Lay all bare upon the pedestal first. The door shall not open to those who harbor regret in their hearts. Okay, so that's why we're doing this. Okay, it's like a rite of passage. Okay, so I have to bring the most important item to one of the podiums, I guess? Let me see. What is this extra lore here? Shu and I decided that this place was the Space Army HQ when we played Space Wars. When it wasn't just displaying, we would gather here to have mission briefings while eating candy. Oh, that's so cute. There's more lore on these people. Oh, now it's all black. Oh my gosh, you drew over it. Is there more text now? I think Sakuko may have read one too many of those bizarre comics. Lately, she'll be laughing all happily one moment, then turn deadly serious and spout off some weird nonsense the next. Apparently, she's acting like that because she thinks it's cool, but it kind of creeped me out for the first few times she did it. I hope she gets over this weird supernatural phase of hers. So this is like her conclusion. Just be like, hey, we're not friends anymore, but good luck. You're weird. Oh, Foxmax, there's more lore about this guy now. There are times when those kind eyes that watch me through the slits of the fox mask turn frighteningly sharp. It's as if he's looking right through me, piercing the very depths of my soul. When we walk hand in hand, he always stays one step ahead, as if guiding me somewhere. With my hand in his, I can keep my eyes cast down towards the feet when I walk. When he tugs gently on my hand, I know that true happiness is. I don't have to think about anything anymore. As long as I do what he tells me, I know I'll be happy. Ooh, he's putting her into a little bit of a trance. A little bit of a... like a hypnotic state where she just wants to follow him. Just like me and Krauser, by the way. If Krauser took my hand, I too would also blindly follow him. Ooh, look at that. Oh, there's like fire on her. She's like on fire now. Oh, I like how the drawings change. I'm assuming shoes will also change after I do this part. Junko's already like that since the beginning. Cool. Because I gotta put his thing right there. But let me look at everything. Oh, it pains me because he sounds like he's in so much pain, but he's like still so kind. Aww. Is this a drawing of me? Aww, it's so cute. Why do I have to do this, man? Can I just stay friends with him? Oh, look at all this stuff. Everything is somewhat related to Hinako, which is so cute. He loves her very much, but she doesn't love him back, sadly. Okay, so I gotta put this thing on this, I think. Oh. Ah, he has to get over his crush on Hinako. He has to get over it. It's so sad. But I guess sometimes you just gotta... Okay, where is this Takaramono? Ah, I have to go in the rooms. Okay. He's pretty good at drawing. That looks exactly like me. Oh my gosh, please don't tell me there's more freaking monsters. Please. I got chased twice already. Ooh. The medicine cabinet from Shu's place. Okay, nice bandage. The fact that it's giving me more items probably means there are more monsters here. Oh yeah, I see the scarecrow monster down there. Oh man, really? Shu? Ah! Chatto matte! No! I have to find this Takaramono in here. Where is this Takaramono? Where is it? Oh my gosh, really? Nah, I'm so tired of this sequence, guys. Oh, I found the Emma. Nice, but I think I'm gonna die here. Wait, where can I go? Go, 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 go. Oh my gosh. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. It's kind of like a big... Is it in these cabinets? Oh no, this is a dead end. Get out of the way! Get out! Ugh. Yeah, where is it? Oh no, it closed that door. Shoot! I could kill them, to be honest. Dude, I hate that they can still attack you even if, like... It must be down there if it makes you go that way. Oh my gosh. Again. Oh shoot, it's actually locked once you get in here. Oh man. Oh my gosh. Go, 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 go. Masukashi! Dude, this is like getting really annoying. The fact that they make you do it 3 times, guys. Did I miss any loot here? I don't remember if I picked up loot when I first came in this room. Dude, that sucks, man. Maybe we just have to press the love and back button. Maybe. But Hinako doesn't want to, so we can't make her. This is the 3rd time we're going through this same sequence. I hate it. Well, not same sequence, but it's like the similar mechanics, you know? Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. I think, yeah, I forgot to pick that up earlier. Thanks for suffering on our behalf, Rue. Yeah, and it's slight suffering, but it's okay. Oh man, it must be in that room where the lever was. I could fight them, but I think they'll just be resurrected immediately. I know there was one there and it comes down at you. There's a couple items I missed that I couldn't pick up because these guys were just here. Nani mo haitte nai. Okay, there's nothing in there. Just have to somehow... I can't block. Well, actually, I can block. I forgot that there's a block mechanic. The scent of herbs, it's overpowering. Great. Great. We don't have time to be sniffing the flowers here. There's a band-aid in there. I do need this. There's a max sanity. Reduce the sanity damage chicken. Yeah, replace this. I need all the freaking items I can get. I found the yoga. Nani kore? Get out of the way! Get out of the way! No! No! Oh my gosh, girl, what the heck? No, 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 don't just lock onto her. I locked onto her even though I don't want to. My gosh, I'm gonna try to fight her because she's really annoying. she's not dying at all. Okay, nice. Okay, one of them's down. Oh, stressing. Please open, please. Ugh. Uh-oh. No! A boss fight now? No! Oh gosh. Oh, don't look. Ew! Oh gosh! Ah! She pooped something out! Defeat the monster じゃないよこれ. What the heck? What do I do? Kitane! How do I defeat that thing? Oh, there's so many of them. What is this? Oh, yeah. Does that too, like the other guy? Oh no. I can't block when I'm eating yoka! Oh, that is so dangerous. Oh shoot, I've locked onto this guy. I didn't want to. I have to fight all these guys. No! I want this one to die. Hurry up and die, because you're in the way. Oh, I want it to die because it's so in the way. Stop it! Okay, that one died. Oh my gosh, but it's probably gonna respawn. Oh my gosh. Oh, I used up all my stamina doing that. Oh my gosh. I don't know if this weapon's any better, to be honest. Ew! Oh, it gave birth to another one. Oh, this is bad. I'm too far! Ugh. Dude, this is gonna be so annoying, guys. No! Oh my gosh, guys. They gotta not do this. I know it. Focus is like really important and all. Oh gosh, I hit two of them at once. Nice. Ah man, no. No! Ah, dude, I hate how you run out of stamina so fast. Hi, Bray. Just kill the mother and hopefully... Oh my gosh. Takes up a lot of stamina actually to use this item specifically. How do you do that? Come on, man. Oh my gosh, I locked onto this guy. Okay, nice. I have a little bit of time. Oh gosh. Dude, this guy is so big. It has so much health. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, wait, is that... Am I doing anything? I don't know if this is like how you're supposed to fight this guy. Ah, gosh, they keep coming back. I really need an... What if it's like this isn't even the way you're supposed to fight this monster? Oh my gosh, please. Girl, please. Oh gosh. Wait, I'm like worried that this is not how I'm supposed to be fighting this thing, and I'm just wasting time. What? I was running! Kill the mother, I know, but I can't kill the mother. Did it die? I think it died, But the thing is still alive. ちょっと待って。Oh my god, how is this thing alive? I thought it would die if the mother dies. Oh gosh. Okay, I'll just have to take this one down and I can go forward, I think. Nice. Okay. Oh my gosh, guys, sorry. That was so very, very hard. Highly indecent. I know that monster was crazy. That was like a real Silent Hill style monster. But the boss fight was so hard. Eating pizza too. Oof. I'm sorry, Wolf. I'm sorry. This is y'all's reminder that Miku is in Fortnite. Thank you, Brady. Thank you. We all needed to... We've got to remind ourselves that Miku is in Fortnite, yes. Hardcore gamer fruit. Thank you, Squiddy. Thank you. I can see why a lot of people said they're very annoyed by this game. This sequence is like the worst. Oh my gosh, Kramer! Thank you so much for the raid! Welcome in, welcome in! Welcome in, raiders. Thank you so much! I just finished an intense boss fight in this game. Oh my gosh. Welcome in! Oh my god! Gunther, hi! Gunther, hi! And hi, Kramer! Welcome in, raiders! I am a fruit entity of the Backrooms. I'm currently playing Silent Hill F. This is my first playthrough. So yeah. Hi, Kramer. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. I'll give you a quick shout out. Ooh, okay, Crime Simulator. I was gonna say Borderlands, but... Crime Simulator. Okay. How was that? I hope you had fun. Were you playing with Gunther, or was Gunther just in your stream? In your chat? Thank you so much. I hope you're doing well, by the way. It's almost Friday. Can't wait for it to be Friday. I'm gonna treat myself to a Starbucks chai latte tomorrow. I'm very excited. But if you need a raid and run or go eat dinner or something, please do so. Thank you. I'm just trying to finish this section in the game, but it's a lot longer than I thought. It's like one crazy boss fight after the next. After the other or whatever. It's crazy. Crazy stuff. But yeah, what do you do in Crime Simulator? You simulate a crime? Is it literally just simulating a crime? Is the item not in this room? Wait, hold on. Because I was looking for some kind of item, right? Is it not in here at all? Was that just a boss fight just cuz? Oh gosh, please, no. Not a just cuz boss fight. Just cuz why not? Oh no. Wait, what's this? Oh, I got red capsules. Where's the red capsules? I Where's the red capsules? Did I not put in a hot slot? Omamori. Wait, I don't have a single omamori? What the heck? Maybe that's why I was struggling so much. I didn't have my upgrades in there. What the heck? Yeah. Did I actually not have my upgrades in there? Oh, I should probably put it here. Oh man, I have 6 pills. I should be taking that. Okay, I think that's good enough. Okay, I don't know. I don't think there's any items in this room that I'm supposed to pick up. Let's go out this way. Maybe something changed? Whoa. Oh, second floor. Okay. Oh god, I hear some weird sussy sounds. Oh no, those things will turn into monsters, right? Wow, mendoksa. Mendoksa. Hora. Yeah. These guys give birth into monsters. Oh my gosh. Mendokusai ne. I literally just did a huge boss fight and they're like, you know what? That's not enough. We should add like 10 more enemies right after a big boss fight. Like, what the heck? Kore ka. Naruhodo. That is so annoying. What's this? Brainiac hero comic. Who did it with a handicap? She's even more hardcore than I thought. I didn't realize I didn't have an upgrade in my slot. Real and fair. I know! This game is like so pretty, but like they just keep throwing more boss fights at you and they don't let you rest. I hate it. I hate it. The inside page was full of drawings. Hinako were drawn at the bad guys that the protagonist defeated? Moreover, in order to make the method of death even more bizarre than the manga's presentation, they stubbornly added a lot of scattered blood and guts. The heck? Is it just like children's silly play or something? That's his prized possession? Oh, what the heck? Well, at least I have it now. At least I got it, but why is it that? Why am I the bad guy? Why is he trying to destroy me? Can I go back through here? Where's the door that came in through? あれ? ここじゃないの? Door? あれ? Wait, where's the door? How do I get out of here? Ah! No way! Please, if I die here, they're gonna make me do the boss fight again, please. No, I'm low-key getting annoyed, guys, because this is so ridiculous. Like, how much they make you do. Why did I open that then? What was that lever for? If it doesn't open something. Yeah, I'm so confused. Oh, maybe it wasn't here. Maybe that's why. I went the wrong way. Okay, I'm dumb. Oh my gosh. See, now I have more stamina. I have way more stamina now. Holy crap. Oh, that was so not fun, guys. Immediately save. Immediately. Got this. Thank you, Scary. Thank you. Take a break and read this comic. She really should. She really should. This shoe made me go all the way out there to get that comic. Nice. Please don't tell me there's another boss fight. Whoa! Oh no! Why is he chained up like that? Is this Coffee's fantasy? You're gonna like tear him apart or something? my god! Oh my gosh, Hinako! Girl, what the heck? Okay, I know you love the fox guy and he's really hot and all, but like...
幼い頃からの友人に別れを告げるのは辛いだろ
はい。いえ、
He's still hot.
するべきでした。もっと早くこんな姿をお見せして申し訳ありません。
謝らなくていい。むしろその痛みを強いた私の方が謝らねばならない。
I mean, to be honest, if Krauser told me to do all that, I would too.
行こう。
I think I'm waking up now. Maybe. Ah, guys. So now it's clear if she's just being manipulated. Farewell party. You have no place in my future. That's the achievement I got. The fox guy's manipulating her and isolating her from everyone.
シュウ、リンコ。
Girl, you killed them. Girl, you killed them. They're not here anymore. That got intense really fast. I agree, Wolf. I agree. That was crazy. I was like, oh my gosh. Why would you do that? They got dark really fast. H cap yaoi Hinako, what the heck? Rinko did this? I don't know. I mean, Hinako's the one that pulled the lever in the end. I think we might just be upset with everyone. Yeah, maybe, possibly. But clearly a fox guy is manipulating us to do this. That would feel so fast, I know. We could probably put our hand in a bowl of water. Maybe that's what woke me up. I've always despised people who tell me how to act just because I'm a girl. Shu was different though. He was the only one who ever understood me. We were perfect partners. I considered him a true companion. As we got older, the pressure from our parents got stronger. Even still, Shu never stopped treating me like his equal, regardless of my gender. There exist two Hinakos inside of me now. Shimizu Hinako, whom I love, who have known since birth, and Hinako, a woman who is trying to steal my body from the old me. It's like an alien is trying to take over me. If this were Space Wars, my partner should be coming to the rescue, but there's no sign of him. What does that mean? Puberty? What? Wait. Known since birth, and Hinako, a woman who is trying to steal my body from the old me. Interesting. Maybe just like growing up, adulthood, maybe? Adult Hinako versus the kid Hinako? I'm not sure. Sakuko, wait, what happened to Shu's thing though? Wait, hold on. Sakuko already read. Okay, so Shu's is all black now too. And Fox Mask. Yeah, I read this earlier actually. It just didn't save. I don't know what to make of this. I guess Fox Guy is trying to kidnap me once and for all.
Shu, お前の家で購 流なんだよな。
Oh. Uh-oh, there's something coming. Wait, I just finished though. I wanted to save.
戦える数じゃない。
Wait, I just wanted to save. Okay, this is the cutscene. Oh gosh. Oh, she was saved. Maybe that thing chasing her, or that big, like, shadowy figure is, like, not a bad person. What if that's her sister? Dude, that low-key might be her sister, that shadowy figure that was chasing her in the beginning and now chased her.
私を追ってる。
Maybe it's
二
not.
人もあいつから逃げたのかも。
I know her sister's gonna be an important figure in this game. We just haven't heard much from her. Is there somewhere I can save? Chocolate. I just wanted this. I think it auto-save, but I'm not sure. That's why I want to go to Hokora and actually manually save.
やむを得ず私を置いてったんだ。だよな。
Junko greater than Rinko? For sure, of course, Junko's way better. I think she's the sister, right? 勝てますが、アメリカ乙女ちゃん、アメリカ乙女ちゃんって私アメリカ乙女。Hello, Urgi? Welcome. I think I can win. 勝てると思うけど、今日は無理。明日も無理だな、多分。Oh, mushrooms. It feels like I always think I can pray there, but I can't. ほこらじゃないんだね、今の。ほこらじゃない。あった、よかった。なんかこう、紙切れ落ちてない？これ何？ What is this paper? I'm sorry, something urgent came up, so I can't come with you. Just trust me and continue down the path we decided. I'll get everything ready and wait for you.
これシュウたちか。
Oh, interesting. Okay. Going to record. Nice. Can I pray? Do I have enough points? Oh gosh, I need 1100 for more stamina. I need more stamina. スタミナ欲しいな。でも、ポイントが足りない。全然足りてない。ラムネ。これはまあいいやん。これをあげて、これ。でもこれもいらないよね。So far I've been fine without this. 全然足りないな。チョコ。しかし。Oh, 全然足りない。I don't have enough at all. I can't get to 1100 points. Okay. I think I'm gonna stop here for today. It's pretty late, so I'll have to continue tomorrow. Sadly, I don't think I'm anywhere near finishing this game. I think I'm barely, like, maybe halfway through. Oh, wow. I saved already, right? Okay. The excellent fruit. Thank you, Squiddy. Arigato. The exit game. Okay. Now just chatting. It was decent. We got through the fox part. But it feels like each stream we just get through like one of the sections. One of the many sections of this game. That's okay. I can always continue after I come back too. But yeah, thank you for coming, everyone. I'm gonna raid out. I'll stream again tomorrow. Tomorrow's my last stream before my 3-week hiatus, because I'm going to Nihon. I'm going to Japan rooms. So yeah, tomorrow's the last one. So don't miss it. So 明日が最後の配信で、その後3週間配信お休みします。日本に行くんで。 We dipped Rinko, that's all that matters. I know, with victory. We dipped Rinko in that buffalo sauce. I'm so proud. Awawawa. Awawa. This is Japan rooms. I'm going to Japan rooms. Alright, let me see. Who's streaming? 誰の配信行こうかな。I think, let's see, Sev is streaming actually. I might go to Sev. Yesterday Sev was streaming too, but I didn't get to raid into her, so I think I will go there. No, janai. I know, I'm so sad too. 行きたくないと行きたいけど行きたくない。めんどくさいな、行くの。ね、I'm gonna miss you guys. Raid message is... I don't know. I'm not creative enough. Does anyone have any ideas for raid? I don't know if Coffee's probably working right now though. Raid message. Also, out of interest, will you still be checking the Discord when you're in Japan? Oh yeah, that's a really good question, Squiddy, actually. I will not have access to my Discord while I'm in Japan. So, I have a personal Discord and then I have my VTubing Discord. And I have a personal Discord on my phone, but I don't have the VTubing one on there. I mean, I could go on it, but I'd have to log out and log back in. Because you can't have more than one account on the mobile app. So I won't be on Discord, sadly. I'm sorry. I wish they'd let you have multiple profiles on your phone. I know they do on desktop, like PC, but they don't for mobile. So, yeah. But I will have X or Twitter or whatever you like to call it. So if you want to message me there, you could message me there. Or I'm not sure. Maybe Instagram, but the thing is I don't have access to my Instagram either. I logged off and then I totally forgot how to log back in, so I'll definitely post something in the Discord though as like a reminder for people who want to talk to me and stuff. Behold the mold and you will do as you are. Wow, Squiddy! That's a good one. That's so good. That's actually so insane good. Thank you. Arigato! That one's good. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, I'm gonna go into Sev's stream. I think she's just studying. Doing some school or something. Schoolwork or something. Actually, is she gonna end it now? Let me see. Oh, she's on BRB right now. I don't know why she's on BRB. I don't know if she's coming back. I'm just watching, trying to figure out what's going on. Well, she'll probably be back in a bitty. I think I can just go ahead and raid in, if y'all don't mind. Sev is just sharing some... Oh, travel, story time, and photos. Fine. Yeah, I know Sev just came back from a long trip. Not long trip, but like... You know, she was overseas. So, you technically can use the browser. Oh, true. True. You know what? I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out before I leave. And I'll let you guys know. Arigato, Kohi. Arigato. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and start the raid to Sev's channel. Be nice to Sev. Drop a follow. Say hello. And I will see you guys tomorrow for more Silent Hill. Alright. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Alright. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Squiddy. Thanks, Coffee. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Wolf. Thank you, Brady. Let me see. Thank you, Kramer, for the raid. Thank you, Gunther, for coming. Hello, hello. Thank you, Shrimp, as well, for the raid today. And thank you for all the follows. I appreciate it. I also hit 700, if you noticed. I have hit 700 followers. I might do something when I come back. I don't have time to do something before I leave, sadly. But surely I will do a little fun something, probably when I come back. Yep. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Let me know if you need anything. And otsukare. Hi, arigato, Kohi. Hi. I will let you know. Good night, Wolf. Good night. Brady. 1,000 is possible. Hopefully. I was hoping before the end of the year, but that might not be possible. Maybe before like spring next year. 700 mold spores. I know the mold is spreading. Alright everyone, I'm gonna send you off now.